Obviously, someone's been to this campsite sometime recently. They tried to get a fire going, but unfortunately, it did not work out. This area receives a lot of rainfall, and just because there's wood laying around doesn't mean that you can actually burn it. There's a reason why there's so much moss. There's a reason why there's so many ferns. That's because this place is wet. I want to thank you all very much for joining me for this trip. This is the Outdoor Gear Review, and just in case you don't know, my name is Luke. For the last hour and a half, I've been hiking to this location. I've finally made it. The reason why I haven't been filming is because it's been raining. It has been rather light, but I didn't want to take any chances. At any moment, it could just downpour. The chance for heavy rain and storms later this afternoon is rather high, and at this time, it is dark. We're up in the clouds. It's windy, and it's sprinkling somewhat. I'm not sure how well it's coming through, but the cloud level is right there. Ever so often, it drops down even lower. Normally in a situation like this where rain is a good bet, I would set up my tarp first. But in this case, I'm going to set up my tent because this tent sets up in about 10 seconds. It is incredibly fast. It's incredibly impressive. Unfortunately, the company cut some corners with this product, and it's not as good as it could be. With that being the case, though, I'm going to test it out, and my review is coming up. Check out this tent, folks. It will impress you at how quickly it can be set up. Watch this, everyone. Done. All I have to do now is take out the doors. And just like that, the tent is set up. Literally, that took less than 30 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds to actually pop out the tent, a few seconds to stake it out. Now I'm done. Now I'm ready to set up my tarp. And I tell you what, it is getting so dark. I better get this done now. I better not waste any time. It is raining, everyone. As you all can see, I've set up the tarp here, and I've done so rather high. I have quite a bit of livable space underneath this tarp, but at the same time, I'm exposed. Let's say that a strong storm comes in, it gets really windy, I will be exposed to rainwater, to like blowing water and so on. I have accounted for this, and I brought with me an additional tarp. So if I need to set up a wall here, I can do so. But as it stands right now, I'm not concerned about that. So let's continue setting up camp, and let's make some coffee. Cheers, my friends, cheers. A viewer sent me this coffee, and it is unbelievable. It smells like chocolate cocoa pebbles or something. I mean, it's incredible. Actually, in a way you could say it's awful because it makes me want like cereal really, really bad. Cheers, everyone. As far as the weather goes, it's been raining for about an hour now. Very, very light. I mean, so light the camera can't even see it. You might be able to hear it hitting the top of the tarp, but that's about it. The cloud level has come down, it's gone back up, vice versa. All the while, I've been hearing thunder. The cell is still far off, but I can hear it. I have no idea if it's coming this way or not. With this trip, just like every adventure that I go on, I'm testing out gear. So with this one, I'm testing out the Nature Hike Canyon One Person. I'm also testing out the Kelty Coyote backpack. And I have to say this, folks, I'm not impressed with this backpack. The build quality of this backpack, like the durability, is absolute garbage on this. I'm really surprised to see this. This is my second time out with this pack. I've always been super gentle with it, but you can see here, the pack has a drag through the material on the front. The thing is, I haven't done anything with this pack. I guess I laid it up against this rock, or I went through a bush. I mean, no big deal. Most packs would handle that with ease. This pack did not. I am disappointed in the Coyote. It's interesting, I've heard a lot of really good things about this backpack, so maybe they've changed their design recently or something. As it stands right now, everyone, it's about 4 o'clock and the storm cell is getting closer. The temperature's dropping, and I'm actually getting cold. If I had to guess, I would say it's about 54 degrees. So, I mean, it's not freezing, but it's chilly enough. It's chilly enough to put on a jacket and some gloves. That is a whole lot better. Now, everyone, I'm going to gather up some firewood. I plan to have a fire tonight, just enough to kind of cut the edge out of the air. And you never know, I may have one in the morning, we shall see. Let's see if I can gather enough dry firewood. Everything out here on the ground, unfortunately, is pretty wet. Again, it's been raining off and on all day long, so yeah, I don't know. You can see here that somebody did not have any luck with their fire. Definitely too wet, so hopefully I can have better luck. As it stands, I've collected an alright pile of firewood. Most of it is small stuff. My plan is to use this small stuff to dry out the larger stuff. The reason the people who were here prior to me couldn't get that fire to go is because they started with larger pieces of wood instead of smaller. You need to start small because it will dry quicker, and once you get it burning, it will dry out the larger stuff. I'm still hearing thunder, but I can tell that that cell is moving past me. This is the lightest rain of all time. I mean, you can hear it on the tarp, but you can't see it. It's just enough to like soak everything. You know what I mean? I'm still hearing thunder, but it sounds like the cells are going around us. Based upon feel alone, I don't think it's going to storm right on top of us. I just don't feel it. When you've spent enough time in the outdoors, in weather, you can tell when there's like instability present. It is windy though. Outside of the forest here, it's around 25 miles per hour. Super, super foggy too. I love the atmosphere that it gives the forest. You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about like a spooky forest sort of situation, this is it. Like, you look out, you see nothing but fog. You don't know if someone or something is watching you. The other day I received a message from a viewer on Facebook, and they were asking me what scares me, because I do these videos, I do these adventures, sometimes they're crazy, and nothing seems to scare me, nothing seems to faze me. Oftentimes, the fears that people have are the ones inside of their head. They're not real life, they're not real world. I think it's important to, whatever you do, you have to realize that there is a risk, right? There's a risk in everything. If you head into a forest, there's related risks. If the weather's bad, there's risks there. If you go into Chicago, you're putting yourself at risk, so on and so forth. I do my best to plan for every situation that could arise realistically when I go out for a trip, or if I go out for a road trip, so on and so forth. But you have to realize there's just some things out of your control. Things happen, and you're going to need to be able to act and be able to handle those situations. So in the end, there's really not much that scares me. I can tell you that I do not like spiders with a passion. Maybe giving a speech to like a large group of people, that would probably scare me pretty good. Yeah, that sounds awful. So let me ask you all the same question. What scares you, if anything? Realistic, non-realistic, it doesn't matter. I mean, some people fear werewolves, right? Some people fear Bigfoot. Is that realistic? No, not really. Neither one. Anyways, folks, I was thinking about that. I was also thinking about this young girl that I met the other day at a gas station. So check out this situation. So I pull into a gas station, I'm going to fuel up the truck. I get out of the truck, go over to the pump, insert the card, grab the nozzle. The card reader doesn't work, and I remember saying something like, "You piece of shit," whatever. So I have to do the whole thing over again. I get it to work. I fill up the vehicle, and I'm wrapping it up, and that's when this young girl comes over to me, and she asks me if I have a pair of pliers. And I was like, yeah, I got a pair. So I go around the truck, grab those. I go to hand her the pliers, and she says, "Will you bend it for me?" And I'm like, "Bend what?" Anyway, so we go over to her car door, and so like right on the edge of the door, there's this piece of metal that's supposed to be flat. But somehow that piece of metal is completely bent sideways, and it's preventing the door from shutting. She tells me that she overshot the gas pump, opened up her door, and reversed, and the car door slammed into like the steel barrier there at the gas pump. Anyway, so I start working on that. I start bending this metal, and it dawned on me, like, you know what? If she rammed the door into that thing, is this all that bent, or is there more to it? So I stop and I go to close the door, and like the latch mechanism is completely off. That entire door is jacked up. So when she reversed, the door hit that pylon and just pushed that door in, crunched the metal, crunched the steel. While the door looked fine other than that piece of bent metal on the inside of the door, the entire thing was misaligned. There was nothing I can do. I did have some cordage in my truck, and I told her that, you know, if she wanted to hop in the driver's seat, I could tie that door shut on the inside so that she could at least drive home. And she said that she was going to call her dad and they were going to figure it out. So I felt bad for her, you know, that really sucks. But live and learn, I guess. Live and learn. It's amazing to me how many people hit those pylons at the gas stations. Like, they're there for a reason. Some people would think, oh no one's ever going to hit a gas pump. Yeah, they will. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. The next time you're at a gas station, look at those pylons and see how many like scrapes, scratches, and bruises are on that thing. More than likely, there's quite a few. Real Termat meal, reindeer stew. Oh yeah, this stuff is so good. Basically what it is like reindeer meat, vegetables, and mashed potatoes. And it's freaking awesome. A little while ago I was talking about young people doing dumb things. I'm not exempt from that at all. When I was younger, I did all sorts of dumb things. I could tell you all some stories. One story comes to mind. So, a friend of mine, his mom worked at the hospital, and after school, he would oftentimes be dropped off at the hospital. So I would go there, pick him up, and we'd go cruise around town. I'd go to the hospital to pick him up, and the parking spaces were those where you could pull through. So, empty space, car right here. I just come in and plowed right into that car for some reason. I was just going too fast, wasn't paying attention, plowed right into this car. The car was an absolute piece of junk. It was rusted up, beat all to hell. I could have just walked away. I don't even know if the guy would have noticed, but I had to stay there. I had to talk to him. It was the right thing to do. So I remember my friend, he was getting irritated because we had to wait for hours for that person to come out. Eventually he did. He didn't care at all. Talking about dumb stuff. Unfortunately, with this story, a friend of mine, he got really, really hurt. So there was this guy named Henry that I went to high school with. And like oftentimes he would drive us around, me, my girlfriends, and so on. One night, he said something that I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but it was along the lines of like, a professional driver never turns the steering wheel more than one time. Something like that. That stuck with me as being incredibly stupid, right? And so like fast forward maybe 10 years out of high school and whatnot, I found out from a friend of mine that this guy Henry was like in a super bad accident shortly after high school and was like really jacked up from it. And all I could think of was what he was talking about, like never turning the steering wheel more than once. Something like that. I don't mean to laugh, but you know. That's a good example of being young and dumb. So far, my plan to get this wet wood to burn is working out. This is super nice, folks. Outside of this tarp, the temps are in the 50s, but inside of the tarp, I don't know, 80 something. It's hot. As far as the time goes, it's about 7:30. It'll be dark in about an hour. I figured we would spend the rest of the evening right here, enjoying this fire. Just in case you're wondering about a piece of gear that I'm using, I will have a list in the description box down below for you all. Included in that list is my fire kit. Everything that goes in it, everything that makes this my fire kit. What I have here is a small Vanquist pouch. And on the inside, lighter, matches, fire bellows, different types of fire starter, so on and so forth. Basically, it's everything that you would need to get a fire going no matter what the conditions are. As I've been working with this fire, I've been thinking about starting a new series in regards to what I call modern bushcraft. Most of the time when people think of bushcraft, they're thinking of like someone taking two sticks, rubbing them together, getting a fire going. That's the old way. I'm talking about new methods, talking about using modern tools. To me, that makes a whole lot more sense than going out into the woods, stripping it of everything to build a shelter. I'm sure you've seen those channels where the individual went out into the woods, cut down every single tree to build a fort in the woods. At the same time, they were stripping bark off of everything to make cordage. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. What makes sense to me is to take the knowledge that our ancestors gave us, but combine those in real-world situations of today while taking advantage of modern tools and materials. It's about covering your basic needs while not destroying the forest at the same time. Anyone can go out into the forest with a saw, cut down every tree, and build a fort to play in. We don't have to do that, and we shouldn't do that. So anyways, I've been thinking about doing a series called Modern Bushcraft. You may be familiar with this term and you may not be, but modern bushcraft, modern survival, they basically go hand in hand. And that is the latest philosophy amongst experts and professionals in the field. If you're out in the forest and you have to rub two sticks together to get a fire going, you've messed up somewhere. You've done something wrong. What that shows is that you were not prepared and you didn't have with you what you need to take care of your basic needs. Good morning, everyone. It's about 5:30. It's time to get up. Still dripping from the trees, but at least it's not pouring the rain like it was last night. I got in the tent last night and just fell asleep. All in all, I slept great last night. As soon as I got inside of the tent, man, I was out 100%. Listening to the rain all night, it was nice, folks. It really was. Well, I'll tell you what, everyone. Let's get up, let's seize the morning, and let's make some coffee. Tell you what, folks, it is chilly this morning. Chilly enough to put on the hat, the gloves, and also the neck gaiter. The wind is blowing from the north to the south. It's coming right underneath this tarp. I went ahead and I lowered the tarp. That way I could block some of the wind that's coming in. That has helped substantially. This really is my favorite time of morning. The forest is waking up, I'm waking up, it's coffee time, it's perfect. My plan for this morning is pretty simple. I'm not going to stay here long. My plan is just to break everything down after I finish this coffee up, or maybe as I'm drinking it. Since it's nice and early, I think I'll just break everything down, head home, and I'll get to see my son before he leaves for college. 1 full year he's been in college now, how about that? But he came up for a few weeks. He helped out with some projects around the house, and now it's time for him to go back. He has a plan of getting a major in business. Right now it's still too early to decide which one. Basically, he's just getting like all this stuff out of the way that he has to have before he can really focus on those courses. So like English, math, so on and so forth. Initially, that's what his plan was, but because of AI systems that are going into place now, I think it would be a good idea, a smart idea, to reassess what he wants to do for a living. Within 10 years' time, the entire employment landscape is going to look very different because of these systems. Already, they're replacing jobs. Already, companies are doing like hiring freezes. These artificial intelligence systems, like, they're not perfect right now, but they're getting better and better every single day. Because of these systems, I advise my son to carefully consider what it is that he wants to do, what he wants to focus on, what he wants to major in, what he wants to spend his money on, what he wants to spend our money on, because we're having to help pay for college. I have to say, I was completely naive to how the entire college machine works. I now know, and it's pretty shocking. But it is what it is. I have a friend who works in a Fortune 500 company, and he said already, like, these systems are so good, they could replace his job and everybody else's on his team. They could do the job better than they can, and they could do it instantaneously without thinking. That's pretty incredible. My question for you all is this: what do you think people are going to do to each other when there's no jobs to perform? When no one's working, no one's creating, what do you think they're going to do? Think about it. You don't have to paint pictures, you don't have to take pictures because AI systems can replicate, can create them. You don't have to write music because a computer can do it. I personally see that as being one of the greatest risks to humanity coming up in the future. Already mankind is at a super depressive state. Depression's at an all-time high. Everyone's killing each other, shooting each other up, stabbing each other. Don't blame the tool, blame the sickness. That's only common sense, but I've shared with you all before my theory in regards to humanity. If you want a happy human, that human needs to be creating. They need to be able to present their hard work and show it in a tangible fashion. Build something, grow something, paint something, make something. That's what makes humans happy. So once you take all of that away, it's not going to be good. Anyways, I think this entire conversation's got hijacked. Let's get back on track. What do you all think about those AI systems? Is it a big deal? Not a big deal? Comment down below. Keep it civil. I'll tell you what, everyone, let's talk gear for a second. As far as the tent goes, that is the Canyon one-person tent from Nature Hike. It sets up so incredibly fast. It's super impressive. But unfortunately, the tent is not perfect. It has some serious issues. For one thing, the company designed it to be used more on a cot than on the ground, but that's not really how they sell the product. This is being marketed more as a backpacking tent, where it's really not. Also, the company kind of cheaped out when it comes to the materials. So on the inside of the tent, there's very little mesh. In cold conditions, like this trip, that's a good thing. In the summertime, in warmer conditions, it's a bad thing. So you have a 3-season tent that really can't be used in all 3 seasons because it's going to be simply too warm. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Also, the tent is super, super small. I mean, seriously. Seriously, it is small. It's not very wide. It just does not make a whole lot of sense. So the company needs to redesign that tent. And if they can do that, they would have a stellar product on their hands because it's lightweight, it sets up fast. But as is, I don't recommend it for most people. With the Kelty Coyote backpack, I can't say that I'm super impressed. It carries well, but again, the entire frame system is rather small. The materials are super fragile. I'm really shocked by that. I've never seen a backpack tear up like that before. I need to go online and take a look at the materials and see what they're using because they're not impressive. The stove from Soto did great, the wood stove was excellent, and the tarp from Rab was also excellent. Without a doubt, it is going to be a beautiful day, everyone. And I think I'm going to get it underway. I want to thank you all very much for joining me for this trip. I really do appreciate it. This was a fantastic adventure, a beautiful location, some interesting gear. Interesting for sure. I'm going to break everything down and I'll say goodbye now. Take care, be well, strength and honor. Hit the like button before you go. If you enjoyed this episode, it does help a lot. If you like watching adventures like this, consider supporting the channel, Patreon, YouTube. It is appreciated. My friends, be well. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.